Imagine walking into an election, believing your vote will help decide the future, only to discover that the voting system itself matters just as much as the vote you cast. Different rules can take the exact same ballots and produce completely different winners. And strangely, every system that humans have invented comes with trade-offs so deep that mathematicians eventually proved something shocking. A perfectly fair voting system is impossible, not flawed. Not unlikely. Impossible. So in today's video, we're going to unpack the strange world of voting systems, how they work, why they matter, and what they reveal about the limits of democracy itself. We'll break down the most common methods used around the world, explore the surprising paradoxes hidden beneath them, and uncover why picking the best system might tell us more about our values than our math. This is every major voting system explained, in one clear visual and easy-to-understand journey. Let's begin. Every few years, millions of people walk into a voting booth, tick a box, and walk out believing something simple, that the system just works. But here's the strange twist. Depending on the voting method, the exact same votes can produce completely different winners. In fact, every voting system has flaws so fundamental that mathematicians have proven a perfect system is impossible. So today, let's take a tour across the world's most widely used voting systems. Understand how they work, why they break, and what this tells us about the nature of democracy itself. Let's begin with the system so common that many people think it's the only way voting works. It's called first past the post. And it feels intuitive. Each voter picks one candidate. The person with the most votes wins. Simple, clean, fast. But this simplicity hides a surprisingly chaotic reality. Imagine three candidates, Anna, Ben, and Clara. Anna gets 40% of votes. Ben gets 35. Clara gets 25. Anna wins right, except the combined votes for Ben and Clara add up to 60%. So a majority of voters actually preferred someone else. This is the core problem of first past the post. You can win, even if most people wanted you to lose. And it gets stranger. If Ben and Clara share similar platforms, they split their supporters. That means a candidate who is less popular in total can come out on top simply because their opponents were too similar to each other. This effect shapes entire political landscapes, pushing countries toward two-party systems and making new parties almost impossible to sustain. So people invented an improvement. What if the winner had to be supported by at least half of voters enter the two-round system? In round one, everyone votes normally. If no one gets above 50%, only the top two candidates move to round two. This forces a head-to-head showdown that guarantees the winner has majority support. At first glance, this feels fairer, and often it is, but it comes with new challenges. Running two elections is expensive and time-consuming. Voters may treat round one strategically, not voting for their favorite candidate, but instead voting for someone they think can make it to round two. And sometimes a strong consensus candidate can be eliminated early simply because the vote was too fragmented. To address these issues, another idea emerged: why run multiple elections when voters could give all their preferences at once? This leads us to ranked choice voting, also known as instant runoff. Here's how it works. Instead of choosing one candidate, you rank them in order of preference, first, second, third, and so on. If no one earns over 50% of first-place votes, the candidate with the fewest is eliminated. Their ballots are redistributed to the remaining candidates according to the next preference listed. This repeats until someone crosses the 50% threshold. Ranked choice voting encourages candidates who appeal beyond their base because being a popular second choice can be crucial. And it avoids simple vote splitting. But instant runoff also has quirks. Sometimes a candidate who is broadly liked by most voters can still lose early if they don't gather enough first-place votes. And occasionally, a candidate preferred pairwise over every other candidate can be eliminated early due to the elimination order. This creates paradoxes where the outcome doesn't always align with the deeper preferences of the population. So maybe ranking isn't enough. Perhaps we should allow voters to support more than one candidate at the same time. That brings us to approval voting. In this system, you don't rank anyone. You simply approve any number of candidates you find acceptable, After counting, whoever receives the most approvals wins. Approval voting is elegant in its simplicity. It reduces vote splitting, encourages consensus candidates, and often produces winners who are broadly acceptable rather than polarizing. But it also flattens preferences. A voter's favorite candidate and another candidate they find barely tolerable both receive the same approval mark. And the strategy becomes complicated should you approve all the candidates you like or only the one you really want. The answer depends on what you think other voters will do, which leads to strategic guesswork. A more nuanced system tries to preserve the benefits of approval voting while capturing preference strength. It's called score voting, or sometimes score range voting. Each voter rates every candidate on a scale, often from 0 to 5. The candidate with the highest average score wins. This system rewards broad appeal and allows voters to express intensity of preference. But it too invites strategic behavior. If you strongly prefer one candidate, you're incentivized to give them the maximum score, and everyone else the minimum, because anything less could disadvantage your favorite. Over time, scores tend to collapse toward extremes, turning the system into a disguised version of approval voting. From here, an evolution emerged, star voting, which stands for score. Then automatic runoff. In star voters score candidates from 0 to 5. The two candidates with the highest total scores become finalists. Then, in the automatic runoff, each ballot counts as a single vote for whichever finalist the voter scored higher. The finalist who is preferred by more voters wins. Star tries to solve the strategic collapse of score voting by injecting a final head-to-head round. It rewards candidates who are both broadly liked and pairwise preferred. But Star is new, unfamiliar to most voters, and hasn't been widely tested on a national scale. Its biggest obstacle may not be mathematics, but public acceptance. So far, we've talked about systems that elect a single winner, like a president, a mayor, or a governor. But many democracies don't just choose one leader. They elect entire parliaments. And when you have many seats to fill, a new idea emerges. What if the distribution of seats matched the distribution of votes? This idea is called proportional representation, and it underpins many national legislatures around the world. Here, if a political party wins 20% of the vote, they receive roughly 20% of the seats. Unlike winner-take-all systems, where a party with minority support might dominate the government, proportional systems give smaller parties real power. They encourage coalition-building compromise and representation of diverse viewpoints. But proportional systems also come with downsides. Parliaments can become fragmented. Forming a government may require negotiations between many parties with slightly incompatible agendas. Coalitions can be unstable, and voters may not get to choose individual representatives directly, depending on how the system allocates seats. All these systems reflect different visions of fairness. But even with all these creative solutions, voting remains riddled with paradoxes. One famous example is the Condorcet paradox. Imagine 3 candidates, A, B, and C. In pairwise matchups, a majority prefers A over B, a different majority prefers B over C, and yet another majority prefers C over A. Each candidate is beaten by another. There is no clear winner. The public's preferences form a loop, and no system can break it without violating someone's idea of fairness. Even more shocking is Arrow's impossibility theorem. Kenneth Arrow showed mathematically that no voting system can satisfy every criterion we instinctively associate with a fair election. If we want one property, we must sacrifice another. There is no perfect combination. Democracy, it turns out, is not a solved problem, but an ongoing balancing act. And this brings us to the most important insight of all. Voting systems are not just mathematical formulas. They embody philosophical choices. Do we value strong majorities, even if minority voices vanish? Then first past the post might appeal. Do we want broad consensus candidates? Approval score or star might be better. Do we want diverse representation? Proportional systems shine here. Every system makes trade-offs. Every system amplifies some voices and quiets others. There isn't a single correct way to measure the will of the people, Because the will of the people is not a single number. It's a complex landscape of overlapping preferences. If there is one lesson to take away, it is this: democracy isn't defined by how we cast votes, but by the values we choose when designing the system around those votes. Fairness is not automatic, it is engineered. And the way we count ballots shapes not only our elections, but our politics, our debates, and our collective future. So the next time someone tells you the voting system is simple, remember, simplicity is an illusion. Beneath every ballot lies a world of paradox philosophy and design choices that determine who leads and who doesn't. And perhaps understanding these systems is the first step toward building a democracy that truly reflects us all. So after exploring all these systems, from the simplest one-vote method to the most mathematically sophisticated one, truth becomes impossible to ignore. There is no perfect way to translate millions of human preferences into a single political outcome. What we call democracy isn't just about counting votes. It's about choosing the principles we care about most. Do we value stability, consensus diversity, simplicity representation? Each voting method amplifies different voices and diminishes others. But that doesn't mean democracy is broken. It simply means democracy is designed. And the choices we make about how we vote shape everything that comes after our leaders, our debates, and the world we end up building together. If you found this breakdown helpful and want to see more deep dive explanations like this, feel free to subscribe and join the channel as we explore more ideas that shape our world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.